Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we've had some queries in respect of the opening up of certain businesses, and just to reiterate, we have, of course, the support industries to the food manufacturing sector that has been allowed to open even in the lockdown areas in Lautoka and Suva, the textile, clothing and footwear industry, the container cartage supply and logistics, support services for fuel industries, IT suppliers, support and equipment, because obviously people have, software, etc., that needs to be attended to, gas suppliers for cooking, and of course there are some companies that use gas for the running of the factories, locksmiths, these are people on call, plumbing services again on call, electrical services again on call, air conditioning services again on call, the manufacture of beverages for export and domestic supply, manufacturing such as furniture, cigarettes. The construction industry is also allowed to function and open, and those professional services that are related to the construction industry. So for example, architects, engineers, surveyors, insurance service providers, together with, of course, the other industries that was announced by the Honourable Prime Minister, like banks, Fiji Public Trustee Corporation, fertilizers, feed manufacturers, the poultry industry, hardware suppliers, vehicle repair places, some of them, and of course the suppliers for motor vehicle parts. And of course things like funeral services, the hearses and crematorium services are also open. In respect of many of the other, cross-border issues that the Commissioner of Police has also highlighted, where it relates to transportation, container and logistics movement, packaging providers across the border, poultry industries, warehouse and manufacturers, and of course food manufacturers and waste dumping have all been taken care of. In respect of FNPF, as again highlighted yesterday, when we had the CEO of FNPF and Mr. Pravinesh Singh, who came from FNPF, who looks after the ops side of things. We've had a number of people who've been going to the offices, as highlighted also, that from Thursday, those people who are not going to be directly funded through the employment benefit scheme, but actually can take out their own funds. So for example, those people who would have been FNPF members quite some time back, but now have their own businesses, want to access those funds, will be able to do those applications beginning on Thursday. There's quite a few people in that situation, and they can take up to $1,000 depending on how much they're eligible to take out from the general account. Are there any questions?
So we've been receiving queries from the members of the public, especially employees, with regards to holiday pay, given that Easter weekend is coming up, and they were asking if there is any way that they'll be affected, their pay will be affected with regards to the COVID-19 in the country.
Your question does not actually set out whether they're still working. You are still working. So obviously if you are taking your Easter holiday pay will be there. So are you talking about people who are no longer employed?
For both those who are still employed and those who are temporarily unemployed.
Well, those who are still employed will have their normal terms and conditions being fulfilled. Obviously those who are no longer employed because they've been told to go home, there's a problem in respect of their ability to get paid for that. Some employees, of course, employers have said to the employees to take the annual leave or any leave that's due to them so they continue to get paid. But if you don't have any work, then obviously there's a problem in respect of them being paid. Those people, of course, because as a result of COVID-19, are able to access funds from FNPF. And as we mentioned the other day, a number of exceptions have been made where, previously had to have people turn up with the bank statements. Now it's saying you simply just put in place or, highlight what your bank account number is, and they'll deposit the money directly into the bank accounts. We've already disbursed $5 million to FNPF as of last week, and we expect to disburse some more funds this week, which is coming out of the direct COVID budget response.
So there's some bent among the legal fraternity that the Fiji may be lacking laws in terms of, let's just say, putting lockdowns.
So I didn't get the first part of the question.
So there's some talks among the legal fraternity that Fiji may be lacking laws for, say, placing lockdown, sir.
I think you may be referring to Richard Naidu's article in Fiji Times. Obviously, as you know, Fiji Times is well known for publishing articles that does not necessarily have any merit, nor does that comment actually have any merit. The reality of the matter is just because something has not been gazetted does not mean it cannot be used as law, enforced as law. It's quite silly. I think perhaps these people don't have much to do, and they're trying to gain attention and be relevant. The reality of the matter is that many laws actually are applied when they're not necessarily gazetted. There has been an existing law in place, as you know, under the Public Safety Act, the Health Safety Act, and of course you have the Public Order Act, where various laws are enforced. Their powers are given to the Permanent Secretary for Health, the Minister for Health. They have those powers. And also, as you know, the Parliament has agreed to also increase the penalties in respect of those who are breaching those particular provisions. So it's immaterial. I mean, don't get carried away by such things. The reality of the matter is that if there was no such law, by now somebody would have challenged these people who have been arrested before the court. So it's quite trite to say, and quite superfluous. Actually.
So my second question, some employees still out there not providing those letters to the employees.
Yeah, we have been, as you know, concerned about those employees. As again, the FNPF has relented on one of those provisions that they had, and that is saying that even if you are behind, we suspect a lot of these people are behind in their FNPF contributions for the employees. That's why they're not issuing letters. So we've said that they need to, ignore that. FNPF is going to ignore that for the time being. We simply want the employees to get those letters. But we've gone one step ahead, and we're talking to FNPF to say we can now get the employees directly being listed in that list of employers who should be getting the or passing on the benefits to the employees. So we're making some more changes in that respect. We have also had a number of people. For example, I received a phone call from a lady this morning who's been working in a restaurant, and but she's never been registered as an employee. So she's never been registered as an employee, so it's not like cash under the table. So now when she does not have that work, now the employer won't give her the letter saying, well, you were kind of illegally engaged. So we have situations such as that. So again, we're trying to wrestle with that because this lady had some FNPF from a previous job, but in this job she's not registered formally as an employee. So we have those kind of quirky provisions, and unfortunately this goes to show that people who are doing things illegally do get caught out, in particular in times such as this. So we're trying to address those issues. It's not easy because on the flip side, of course, FNPF is concerned about different citizens making false representations. Because if you open that up without a particular gate in place or monitoring system, then anybody can just walk off the street and say, I used to work for this person and they illegally employed me, and now I can't get a letter from them, so give me access to my FNPF account. So it's managing those risks, and of course being able to manage those expectations too.
So I understand that businesses in the textile, clothing and footwear industry can still operate during this time. Just how necessary does government think these businesses in this industry can still operate during such a time like this?
So just how, sorry?
How necessary
as the government industry?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of them who actually have garments orders from overseas. So as you know, most of our garment manufacturers in Fiji actually make those garments for the export sector. There are figures of about 95% or so of garments that are made, if not even higher, that actually don't get circulated within Fiji, except for things like some of those bulla shirts that are made people like Nagindas and Harikisuns, etc., or Harrisons, I should say. But there are others, predominantly of the garment factories, it's made for offshore. So we have garment factories in Fiji, for example, that make, police uniforms for, different states in Australia, or they make school uniforms, or they make other types of, equipment. We have one company that makes, flotation equipment. So they obviously are required, and they have orders to fulfill. So they have to meet those orders. Obviously, if they don't meet those orders in the long term, they could lose their contracts. So it could lead to long-term unemployment in that sector. So a lot of these workers are actually keen to go to work. And these companies, all these organizations have actually been allowed to open on the basis that there will be regular, hygiene checks. People will wash their hands regularly as much as possible, have the social distancing or physical distancing in those workplaces. So those are the measures that have been put in place. That's why we've actually said that. Of course, some of them may no longer have orders in place. They may not have any future orders in place, so they won't actually open. But there are some actually who do have orders. There are some of them who've said that, look, we need to remain open just to fulfill the back orders, but in the hope that we'll get more orders. There are, one of the well-known garment factories over here in Fiji, they specialize in making rugby jerseys or football jerseys, and they make it for different events, for a particular semi-final or final or quarter-final. Now, obviously, because there's no sports taking place, they don't have orders for that, but they may have orders for other types of clothing requirements. So that's why they're allowed to remain open.
So good afternoon again. With the tropical cyclone Harold Category 5 expected to pass Fiji tomorrow and Wednesday, my question to you is, is Fiji ready and prepared to recover if the cyclone devastates us while we're experiencing this pandemic?
Well, we have to recover, of course. We have to recover, and all of government's machinery will be mobilized to ensure, just as we are handling this particular phenomena from COVID-19, that we'll be able to at the same time simultaneously handle the issues that may arise or devastation that may arise from this particular cyclone. But thankfully it's not passing right over Fiji. We understand at this point in time it's passing to the south of Fiji, heading towards southeast. So let's keep our fingers crossed and pray for the best. And of course, at the same time, government has, the minister responsible for national disaster management has already mobilized his team. They're having their meetings and tracking this particular cyclone, and we will be able to respond to it.
Okay, so just wanted to confirm, for farmers who may have FNPF accounts, are they also included in the assistance scheme?
We have to be also mindful. They are obviously, for example, sugarcane farmers. Some of them who were directly dependent on the proceeds from the sugarcane, sale of the harvest, they are still not affected at all because they're getting the $85 a ton. As you know, there's been a budgetary allocation made for that. So in terms of the income revenue, they are not affected at all. There could be some farmers, for example, who are doing, sharecropping in the sense that they have some sugarcane and they rely on other types of agricultural produce or products, either for sale or in terms of harvesting, or they may be growing some livestock. Again, it has to be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, but there is no specific allocation for them in respect of the budgetary allocation. But if people have their own businesses and they have some FNPF, as we said, from Thursday, they can go and actually access those funds. As long as you are able to demonstrate that you have some amounts available in your FNPF account, as long as you're able to demonstrate that you have been affected by this COVID-19 phenomena and that your income has dropped, then you can access that. In the same way, there are individual people who may have been, running for example, a tour company. We have, a couple of gentlemen I know who hold, guiding, they act as guides walking across Viti Levu or different parts of Fiji. It's their little business, but now because there's no tourists, their income has been directly affected. So if they have FNPF funds, they can from Thursday go and make an application. They simply demonstrate the fact that they were reliant on the tourism sector, directly or indirectly, and they have the documentation to prove that, then they'll be able to access their funds from FNPF. Okay? Thank you very much. Naka.